All right. I was also talking about how you were the first guest we've ever had, and hopefully we could pop a few clips up of the original podcast episode here so everyone could see how embarrassing it was to look at it.
Well, I know, Chris, you've been after the bowfin forever. Snakehead isn't on the list. We're trying to get snakehead added to the skillful angler list.
You're now going to have 800 people email Joe calling you a devil for not damning the snakehead.
Well, the bowfin is on there. If the bowfin's on there, why is the snakehead not on there?
But
I
the
used to fight on Facebook all the time. Oh, God.
No, you're right.
If the bowfin's on there, why is the snakehead not?
Or the bowfin is a native fish.
It is?
It's been around forever. I mean, it's like an ancient, it's like a prehistoric fish. Basically.
So why do they list it as an invasive species?
No, not the bowfin.
Yeah.
No, what are you talking about?
I'm serious.
Go do a lap around your room and come back to the computer.
On the New Jersey Fish and Wildlife website as a invasive species.
Hello and welcome to episode number 47 of the NJ Multi-Species Podcast. I am your host, Joe Santiago, and my partner, Chris Pereira.
What's going on?
It's been a very, very busy week since last week, which was actually supposed to be our week off, turned into not our week off at all. With Uncle Ted making everything pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much, we'd been waiting for that call, we kind of knew or were hoping it was going to happen. We didn't really know when, because obviously he's really busy. And we basically said, look, we're willing to drop whatever we're doing and make it work. Just let us know whenever he gets a chance. And he had a chance, and we were able to get it done,
and it was awesome. And another thank you to Steve from Signal 11. I'm still amazed that Nugent took the time, out of his day to just an hour and a half out of his day to just talk to two idiots in their bedroom. That's pretty cool to see him do that. I'm sure he has better things he could be doing than this, because I know I do. So he must.
I mean, I don't know what else to say. I don't know how many, I don't know how many people there are out there that wish that they could, share a hunting. I've only been hunting for 2 years. I get to share a hunting story with Uncle Ted like we were sitting around the campfire. I mean,
yeah, it was surreal.
Yeah,
definitely surreal. Other news, the NJFishing.com Madness Contest. The first two fish have been entered. Jen Wong has a pickerel, who's also next week's episode is Jen Wong. He entered the first pickerel of the contest, and Rob Jasonic entered the first pike. So there are two fish up on the leaderboard that you could see on NJFishing.com forum, right underneath where everything of the contest is.
Those are the only two entries right now?
So far, yeah. A pickerel and a pike. Rob Jasonic, Jen Wong.
Well, how big was the pickerel, did you see?
I didn't, honestly. No.
All right, well, go to njfishing.com.
I mean, I had asked Jen, I spoke to Jen the other day, and I had asked him if he caught another skillful angler pickerel. And I think he said he did because he was going for the specialist. So the fish is over a skillful angler size. I don't think it's a monster, but it's a skillful angler. And I mean, Rob's fish looks decent, but I mean, he's just getting started. I mean, I've seen Rob with much bigger pike, but that was a decent pike.
Yeah, no, I think he's just getting things started. I think I did see his was around 30 inches, maybe a hair
Yeah.
over
Rob
or
will
under
catch one.
30.
Rob will get one that'll eat that one eventually. So
Yeah, he's probably using it for bait right now.
it might be his bait, and it could be his plan. So tonight's guest is an interesting guest. He was the first guest we ever had on this podcast back when it was really, really pathetic. Not that it still is pathetic, but back then it was super pathetic. Eddie Mackin from Eddie Mackin's Rippin' Lips Fishing Trip. See, I could say it right when Ted Nugent's not staring at me. He was our first guest. I have a lot of really cool memories with Eddie Mackin. Great guy. It's cool that I'll always be able to say he was the first guest we ever had on. Can we get him on right now? Where is he?
Yeah, he's getting ready to come on. You just keep talking about him.
Oh, I got to keep talking about him? All
Yeah,
right.
what else you got? You got anything nice to say about him? Anything else?
Does it have to be nice? Can I say bad stuff?
Yeah, I don't see why not before he gets in here.
See, Mackin's one of those guys, if you almost try to bash him, you can't. There's nothing bad to even say. I can't even make something up about him. He hunts from a tree stand. One thing I do know about him, I forgot what it's even called. Like, there's 3 tree stands in hunting, but then there's a 4th one that no one talks about because you kind of just have to, hang in the tree like you're in a sling and stand there. I forgot what it's called, but no one on Earth uses this thing except him. He uses it. Yeah, so when Mackin hunts, he's hanging in this hammock, standing the entire time. It's pretty weird. So we could ask him about that.
Okay, he's not ready yet. Keep going.
Is this real? I can't do this anymore. I have nothing else to say about him.
What are you talking about?
I have nothing else to say about him. What, I have to
This is
talk
the intro.
about him for 15 minutes before he comes on?
This
He
is
has
the
a
intro.
longer
He's
intro
not
than
here yet.
Ted Nugent? Well, I don't know what to tell you. He's not here yet. I can't help it.
So keep talking about him. I like. You think he's handsome?
No, I don't. Well, he is handsome, actually. Actually, yeah, he's handsome. Is this like a trap? Is this a setup?
No, I just, you need to practice your intros, and I thought maybe an extended intro would work well here, and he's getting ready to come in, and I thought you could give him an extended intro.
He got one.
Yeah, but that's it.
That's it. What do you got about him? You know anything?
No, he's just, he's the legend of Lake Hopatcong. When I first started fishing, you'd hear legends about him because I started fishing on Lake Hopatcong as well. And but I started much later in my life, and you'd just hear about it, and you'd go into the bait shop, you'd go over to Dow's bait and boat, and you'd hope to run into him. But then,
You think Mackin, if he was normal and fished all over the place at different lakes, would he be as famous, or is it that he's trapped on that lake that just gives it the allure?
I don't know. That's definitely one of the most interesting things about him is he seems to have dedicated his life to Lake Hopatcong. And we're not really sure if it's by choice or by some kind of curse that the legends say.
Curse.
But
Yeah, it's a curse.
But anyway, I think he's ready to come in now.
I don't think. All right, so that was his intro. I don't have to do it again, do I?
No, that's it. There he is, Eddie Mackin.
Eddie Mackin, you're
Eddie.
on.
What's going on, fellas? How you been?
What's up, dude? Joe just gave you a glowing, very long-winded introduction. I kind of set him up.
Was it good?
I don't know.
Kind of good. He called you handsome at one point. It was. I kind of set him up for it. But either way, it was entertaining.
All right. I was also talking about how you were the first guest we've ever had, and hopefully we could pop a few clips up of the original podcast episode here so everyone could see how embarrassing it was to look at it.
Well, I know, Chris, you've been after the bowfin forever. Snakehead isn't on the list. We're trying to get snakehead added to the skillful angler list.
You're now going to have 800 people email Joe calling you a devil for not damming the snakehead.
Well, the bowfin is on there. If the bowfin's on there, why is the snakehead not on there?
But
I
the
used to fight on Facebook all the time. Oh, God.
No,
if
you're right.
If the bowfin's on there, why is the snakehead not?
Or the bowfin is a native fish.
It is?
It's been around forever. I mean, it's like an ancient, it's like a prehistoric fish. Basically.
So why do they list it as an invasive species?
No, not the bowfin.
Yeah.
No, what are you talking about?
I'm serious.
Go do a lap around your room and come back to the computer.
On the New Jersey Fish and Wildlife website as a invasive species.
But here we are 47 episodes later, and a lot has changed. You now, first of all, I know that you're running a special that everyone should know about immediately, because a fishing trip with you usually costs $350. But if I book a trip before April 1st, it's only $270. That's correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so
Now,
I mean,
it's only going to. So listen, hear me out. It's only you can book out to May 1st, but it needs to be penciled in before April 1st.
oh, April 1st.
Understood?
Okay. Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
there's
Got
some real prime time fishing there where, like, it's a deal. Like, it's a, I'm trying to, I'm simply just trying to do, I'm trying to get people to come out. Like, let's fish. Like, it's time to go. Like, it's happening,
And you'll take up to 3 people, right?
I could take up to 3 people on my boat, correct?
Okay, so at least we know there's a good deal going on. So if you are looking to book,
earlier now, March, all of March, pretty much, a lot of pan fishing, shallow water, jerk baits, bass, pickerel, stuff like that. As you start to lean into that April, going in towards the end of May, you're going to start getting what we can do literally anything, like totally successfully, like panfish, bass, do the walleye stripers, the whole thing, like the whole, it's a total showdown by like the middle of April.
And you've seen, how much of a swing have you ever seen? What's the biggest swing you've ever seen as far as the dates of like it starting? Like if it starts getting really warm, what's the earliest you start?
So routinely, the way that we found this when we were like kids, we'd be trolling trout like when we were like kids, and it was like opening day trout season is when the walleyes really started to like, they're coming back from the spawn and they just got the feed bag on. And literally, if you're just looking to catch fish, like walleyes, targeting a walleye, if you never did that, or you just like husky jerks, like doing the stick baits, the bombers, anything like that. I mean, that is an incredible time to fish. Though you can't keep them if you're one to like looking for to fill the box. It's a no-go. But I mean, like that time of year, it's just that's the swing. That's when you go from like pan fishing to like it's big time. Stripers right around there, same time.
And that's basically when all the fish make their transition up from the shallow, warm water back to like the main lake, correct?
Yeah. By the 1st of May, I mean, like you could pretty much catch fish throughout the whole lake. The shallows are still holding the majority of the fish, but you get that prime time bite right till about the middle of May, and then all of a sudden it's like a light switch. That water temperature hits like that 60, 62, and then like all those big fish just kind of move right out more towards the big body of water.
So now, and like I know you feel the same way, and I know Joe feels the same way. I know a lot of people feel the same way. No matter how many different species of bigger fish we fish for throughout the year, I don't even really know what it is about it, but that springtime pan fishing, like the crappie in particular, it's just, I don't know, I just love it.
It's addicting. If we don't have ice and you're like one that just go out there and pound holes and just like catch little fish through the ice and just like eat it up and love it, if you're one that cherishes that, this spring fishing, hands down. I mean, like, you guys, everybody might know him or may or not, but I had Brian Kronk. I call him the Mighty Kronk. I had this guy. This guy was giggling. He is a huge man, and he was giggling. He's like, "This is the greatest thing I ever did." I like it. And like it's like, I'm like, I don't know how you don't know how good this is, you know? And we're just catching, you know,
so
average size perch, average size crappies. I mean, like the fascination and like a grown man to go do that. It's just like it never gets old. It really doesn't. It never really does get old.
He's my
favorite.
favorite.
Can you do your Kronk impression one more time?
Oh, he's a dude. I don't. Yeah. If you could just picture like an 8-year-old kid getting like his first, like, you know.
No, come on.
Like
he's
listening.
Like,
that's what it's like, you know.
I literally Kronk.
Do the impression again.
Do it, Eddie.
I can't do it. You can't just throw that on me. He's nuts.
Kronk reminds me, if you remember the Never-Ending Story movie from when you were a little kid, he reminds me of the rock biter in that movie that just eats the giant boulders. He's just like a massive, giant man, but he's like so you want to hug him. You can't watch this guy reel in a fish,
dude. It's like the guy
hugging.
from Mice and Men, dude. Like,
exactly.
You know? Like he just wants to pet it, you know. He's so
he just
nice.
wants to pet it. And breaks you in half on accident.
He's more fascinated sometimes just watching other people fish than him fish.
Yeah, he is.
He was like, "Wow, look at him go!" And I'm like, "Just get your line in the water. Like, why don't you do that?" You know.
It's great. Kronk's the best.
He's the greatest.
The pan fishing is, I mean, me and Chris will obviously be there soon because we're addicted to that shit for some reason. But yeah, it is fun. Now, but I mean, even beyond the pan fishing, one thing that always pissed me off about you is I always fish at night. I'm up all night. You catch a lot of fish during the day. And I remember always looking at your picture saying, this guy catches these damn things during the day, and we're still up all night. So obviously your style must be different to be able to do it during the day. Right?
Yeah. I mean, to me, I mean, I don't think, so let me back it up here. If you're targeting panfish early on, yellow perch, stuff like that, you want to do like that early morning bite, evening bite is probably your best thing going. Now you can catch them throughout the day, but for whatever reason, when the perch are spawning and you get into them and like you find like that cluster of school of fish or whatever, they just kind of like lay low throughout the day. You can still catch them, but that hot, you know, down and dirty, like just like bulldog and like it's the hardcore, like just like as fast as you can get it in and get it out of the water. That's usually in those dawn, you know, sun up, sundown hours. Crappies, I feel like you catch crappies like all day. I mean, like the crappie is just essentially if you put it in front of them and you wiggle it enough, like they're just gonna hit it. No different than like a bass.
And they also seem like they like travel in schools, like based on their size. Like you'll find like the one school of all the 8 to 12 fish, and then you'll find another one of the bigger ones, and then every once in a while you find a pod of the real big ones.
Yeah. You'll never forget those days. I mean, like you nailed it. It's exactly just that. But when you get into those days when you're catching like 15-inch crappies, 16-inch crappies, God, if you got like a 17 or something crazy like that, I mean, like you'll never forget that day. You'll know exactly what it was like, everything, what you were using, the clothes you had on, like everything. That's a monumental moment.
And Joe confused me a little bit too because he seemed to jump from panfish to walleye. Is that what you're talking about with the fishing at night with the walleye?
Well, the walleye and hybrids, we always fish all night. We don't even attempt it during the day. He catches.
Yeah, well, you jumped from.
Yeah, we flip flop.
Yeah, you jumped from panfish to that.
So what? Why is there an order of fish here? What's the difference?
You didn't just see the look on his face. You confused him because you.
I confuse everyone. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
If I don't confuse them, this would be even less. It would be worse.
Anyway, listen, the stripers and walleyes. No, dude, I'm telling you, I did it every day before work. I did it growing up and whatever, like before school. When I, like, you know, you get down. I used to fish off Brady Bridge at like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and fish till 6 o'clock until you get like that morning bite. And I would just be throwing, like I'm telling you, bombers. That's all I would ever throw. And you just change up your colors. You have your favorites. I like the wacky colors. It represents absolutely nothing natural to the lake.
And
the
if
funkier the color, the dumber it looks, the better it's going to be. I promise.
If you go in Dow's and ask for the Eddie Mackin special, she will show you which color it is. But we're not going to tell you. You got to ask her.
He said no.
Oh, he said
he
no?
Shook his head. He shook his head.
She did last time. She told a few people and gave it out.
No, she does. I know she does because she asks me all the time.
He doesn't. He wishes she wouldn't, but she does.
Eddie, let me. I'll tell you this. In my opinion, when I started this podcast 47 episodes ago, I was a huge, I don't even know how. I'm not an enemy, but I wasn't really an advocate of guides. You kind of say, well, why the hell would I ever hire a guide? Like, this seems like a waste of my money. But now, 47 episodes later, after fishing with you and other people, but especially with you, I've completely changed my stance on that because now I really understand why the guide is worth the money. Because instead of me having to kill myself and figure that lake out for 30 years, I could simply pay you $270 and get 30 years of experience in 6 hours. So it does make sense to me now, I guess. I don't know if it's because I'm older or I just realized
I know exactly what it is. Like, I know exactly in a moment. I know everything when it turned. Is when your daughter dropped down that jig during that panfish contest and caught that giant crappie, and she just won it all for the juniors.
I was talking about that
you
the other day.
you were like, she did that, and I was like, I know. Like, this is why we're here. You know, and it was like one of those moments.
I wasn't even looking at her. I thought the fishing rod was on the boat, and I turned around and the thing's doubled over, and she's got a crappie on that ended up winning by herself. But yeah, definitely the way you fish and the way I fish is completely different. And Chris knows I've pretty much hijacked the way you fish, and I've used it on other lakes, and we have had unbelievable days using that technique. Obviously, I won't say what the technique is because then there's no point in you even being here at all. But what I'm saying is what you kind of learn, even though we know that you're cursed and your soul is trapped on that lake for all eternity, what you learn with Eddie Mackin can be used on other lakes, and it works just as good.
Listen, man, I fish. I know I fish this lake a lot. I mean, I fish other places. It's still. I have.
Not true.
I've never seen it.
Never seen it.
I can't.
I think I
popular belief.
I saw him in a picture once. Him and his son, and they were standing in some kind of stream-like water. But I'm pretty sure it had rained really hard recently, and it was just some runoff going into Lake Hopatcong. So I think if it's connected in some way, he can stand in it. I don't know all the rules of the.
We don't know the exact rules of the ancient curse, but
but
Eddie, for people that are listening that have never been with a guide and maybe they're intimidated or nervous. Walk us through what it's like to go with a guide. Like someone wants to learn how to fish, they have no gear. Here they are, they pull up to the parking spot and they're getting out of the car. Now what happens? What's next?
Quite simply, I mean, like, we communicate on the phone, like, hey, how you doing? Like, this is all good. Like, I'll meet you here. They meet me at the dock. I make sure I just double check, like, you got your fishing license, you got everything, I kind of run through it beforehand, just, in conversation, like, what are you looking to get? Like, what do you want to catch? Some people come right out and they're like, man, I want to catch a striper. And I'm like, all right, now listen, this is what we're going to have to do. And this is, and I lay it out on the line. Like, listen, like, we might bang them. We might get one, but you're going to get your striper. Like, I'm going to do what we can to go get it, and make it count. Sometimes some people, man, they just show up and they're like, listen, we want to go fish. And that's just it. What I like to do is make sure they're comfortable. Like, we just, it's an easy ride. Like, it's nothing big. I show you how to do everything. I'm there to help you catch fish. That's any guide, any one person that, that you're paying to go out there to go help. I mean, like, they're going to help you. The other guides, they're going to do the same thing. I mean, I haven't personally met yet since doing this almost a year now. And any of the guys in the Delaware, the other guys on the lake, I mean, like that. I mean, like, they're all premier guys, like, they're super nice guys. They want to see you catch fish. That's the whole purpose. They want you to catch fish. That's it. That's all it is, man.
Well,
I mean, and it's not like, like, oh, you blew it or whatever. It's just be like, listen, didn't work. We're going to try it again. And if that doesn't work, like, I'm going to show you how to do it. and then like we're gonna do it, again, and that's just it. At the end of the day, we want you to leave knowing that like we did our best and that like you learned something from it. You're gonna learn. I mean, like, unless you already know everything that I know or any other guide, just in that matter, like, then like you wouldn't really need us to be there other than just, know where to go. And sometimes that's all it is. But if you need to learn how to catch fish, I mean, you have to like put down your pride and be like, listen, like I'm here to learn. Like, some people you just have to step back and soak up something new. I'm still doing that. There's people that come out on my boat that show me stuff all the time, special knots and stuff like that. Dude, I'm so simple with like tying like the same knots over and over and over again. So there's these other guys, man, like, the mono to braid and all the others. I'm a straight braid kind of guy. Like I don't use a leader. I don't do any of that. Just like tie it on there and just like throw it out there. And
I don't either.
That's it.
I don't use leaders or any of that.
I never have, but there's guys that, good friends of mine that like, I found out, through this, we chat, we fish, occasionally, casually and stuff. And just like, we'll go out there and they show me stuff like that, like, I'm like, I would never do that, and I like that, I value that.
And that's, to me, that's a sign of a great angler. You can't stop learning no matter what.
Dude.
No matter what.
Whether you're hunting, fishing, I don't care what sport you do whatever, you never will ever learn it all. You might have a really good grasp on it, but you never stop learning. Sometimes it could be patterns. Patterns change. The things that happened 20 years ago, they don't happen 20 years ago anymore. But the things that happen more recent, you kind of like adapt to it. But you always learn, lures change, pattern. It's just all kinds of like, profiles at certain times. Everything. It's just all little nitty gritty stuff that you never forget. It's like stained in your brain, but it's just one of those things.
Where do you fall on this battle that's going on between the fishermen about like the panoptics and stuff? Like how do the guides feel? I guess for a guide it's an advantage, but you probably don't even care, right? Because you already have walked the bottom of the lake.
If I told you guys like before I bought this like new boat that like I didn't even have electronics, I would just go out there. I would just be like, this is where I got to be. I'd go off this dock to that boathouse and just be like, yeah, that looks good. I'd just do like the old traditional like arm thing, and just,
well, you've done that to me too when I've called you. Like, Eddie, where should I fish? Oh, the blue house with the white window. There's like 7 blue houses with white windows. Like, which one, Eddie? The one with the tree with the branch hanging up.
Not, with the panoptics and all that stuff. Listen, to me, I don't know. If you're a guy who goes and is traveling constantly, maybe to rivers or something like that, I could see it definitely being a plus. But if you're as a guide who is staying on one body of water, I mean, like it's a benefit. It's always a benefit, but I don't know. It's just I feel like it would be like a lot,
You want to?
Now. I could change my tone totally, like in a couple, like and just be like, yeah, like you need that,
You want to know what I asked Ted Nugent a similar question, like with the hunting technology, what he thought about. His answer is pretty much deer need to die and fish need to get caught, and whatever technology you want to use for yourself to get that done, he's totally cool with it.
Well, yeah, like I said, as like a hunter, there's guys that are like just super traditional. They use just traditional gear. They don't use cameras. I mean, like you guys can't see behind me. I got like 25 cameras laying on that thing back there. I just pulled them out all the other day. I have like an insane amount of stuff. Like you never can stop learning. It's one of those things. You always acquire more knowledge. Intel is everything. Having the technology and the fishing thing, it would blow my mind. I have a hard time. And there's, the guy, when I got those guys from Lake Hopatcong Guide Service, Aaron and Kev, like when they tried showing me how to use my own fish finder. I'm like, dude, just put it on like the down imaging and can I go now? Like I didn't even know how to operate my own stuff. I was like, this is where we got to be. Okay. That's it. Bottom line. But it wasn't until like later on where I started like going outside my box and like using the side imaging, which was like a huge thing for me. Like that was giant. And like seeing rocks on the bottom, I'm like, that's why they're here. I get it now. Like they're there because there's a rock, you know.
And
Yeah.
It's just the dumbest little stuff.
But let me paint it to you this way, right? Let's say if you didn't know Lake Hopatcong as well as you did, learning without that stuff, and instead it was reversed, right? Let's say you just showed up on Lake Hopatcong as a new lake, and you had that stuff, and you're seeing, oh, there's some rocks over there. I mean, it's basically in reverse. So you learned it naturally, by chance, by watching and by adapting to what was happening. And then you got to see what it is. It's almost like, I don't know.
Dude, there's anglers that come out and they find it. Like they do it, but knowing where to look and doing all that stuff. I mean, that takes some time, a lake that big, it could take a little bit, and sometimes all that stuff's just like a needle in the haystack, looking for it. But, I do. It's not that I don't value it. I think it's an essential tool, and if you're in that situation where you go from body to water, like, just getting at it, like trying different things, like you're a fool not to have it, I mean, just bottom line.
Well, I think I think that's definitely true. What I'm trying to say is that I think you're at an advantage if you learned it first and then you got to see it more in depth with this technology and kind of understand and then you could add on to what you already knew.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, like, yeah. My first unit didn't have GPS, right? I could drop waypoints on this blank screen basically, and I'm guessing the GPS wasn't that accurate. I didn't really know. But I'd go fishing and it, I don't think it marked fish very accurately. It just marked the bottom. And I could drop waypoints on this blank screen. And then when I went back, I could kind of go towards those waypoints and try to find whatever it was I was looking for, drop off or a hump or whatever. When I upgraded to a unit that had like the mapping card and stuff on it, and I saw my waypoints on whatever lake, I could see my waypoints were basically outlining where it was saying there was points and stuff. And it was just like, oh, wow. Like I was kind of mapping that out myself. And now I understand what I was doing. And I was just able to add on to it. You know what I mean? And
no, absolutely.
And that's
absolutely.
kind of,
it wasn't until, yeah, no, circumstance just on Lake Hopatcong. Like I never knew, like there was Barnes Ridge, right? You fish there like all through the fall. You pretty much get on the top of it and you just like, there's certain spots, but you're looking for a certain depth of water. And like, like that worked. I didn't know till like in the last like 5 years, probably, that like, there's like another little ridge, like next to it, where like, and like, I never knew that, like I never even acknowledged that if it wasn't for the actual technology that I've seen.
Right. And like, how could you, unless you randomly stumbled across it,
Correct.
And it's crazy to me that like, and anyone who doesn't know isn't even going to believe what I'm saying, but like I was telling Joe before you stepped on, like when I first started fishing as an adult, I'd go into Dow's and buy bait, whatever. And we'd go on Knee Deep Club, website and look at things that people were catching and stuff. And you'd pop up on there all the time. And it was just like, it was crazy to us. Like, wow, like this, a lot of times you're just on shore. You're just like your picture, you were just on shore. And we'd ask Lori and she'd be like, oh yeah, he fishes right here. And I'm like, oh, we're fishing right here too. Why can't we catch as much fish? Like, and it's crazy to kind of fathom like just the knowledge of what to use, where, when, how, like, and all that knowledge that you accumulated over all the years growing up there and learning how to fish it. It's invaluable. You can't get it any other way. The closest you can get to buying that information and that experience is to go out and fish with you. And I mean, that's what I was trying to tell someone the other day. No, the guides on Lake Hopatcong. It's not that big of a lake. Yeah, but you just can't. Do you want to go out there and fish every day for 30 years to try to learn or do you want to just go out with a guide and relax and enjoy yourself and just and absorb some of this knowledge and chop off some of that learning curve?
Yeah. I mean, dude, that the amount of time that one puts in to go do that. I mean, it's like anything else. If you're like, nothing's ever just like, give it, you got to be like, it's anything else. It's dedication. And, I didn't like dedicate it because I was like, one day I'm going to become a guide. It had nothing to do with it. I loved fishing, during like my adolescent ages that you would think that like I would be out and about, whatever. Like I would still go get like, drunk at a party in my teenage years. But like I would make sure I was still on the boat in the morning. Like I just like, it was always priority, like always, I mean, I did geometry 3 times, dude. That's how good I loved it in school. I was just like, yeah, you know what? Like, I'm going to go fish. My mom would like kill me. My dad would like raise hell, but we would go out, me and my brother, and I would just like take the boat out at like, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. And like, we would just like leave the house and go fish till 3 o'clock in the morning and be like a total bag of shit at school the whole next day, like summer school, the whole 9,
I got to ask before I forget, because before you came on, I was talking to Chris about that tree stand. What is that thing you hunt out of that's like a potato sack that just hangs out of the tree? What is it called?
A tree saddle.
A tree saddle. And he just hangs there
yeah.
for hours. I've never heard of anyone doing this before.
He's describing it as
Dude,
like a swaddle out of a tree branch, like a hammock.
No, it isn't. It's
you
like a
cannot
thing
not go
he
anywhere
hangs
without
in.
seeing tethered or I don't even know what's the other one's called, tree light or something like that. I don't know. There's so many of them, dude.
I've never seen or heard of one of these in my entire life, ever. I never have.
You gotta open up your eyes, Joe. Whatever you're doing, like open them up.
Are you standing up in this? Are you standing?
Yeah, well, you hang in the tree, but like it's more of like a mobile hunting. It's an easier way of going in there instead of carrying the old school climber and stuff, which is still like it's not a bad way of still being like.
See if you could pop a picture of one of these things up, Chris. I got to see what one of these looks like. This sounds like maniac shit. He's hanging out of a tree and I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Now, what's your?
It is.
I have some emailed question. What's your? People want to know what your fascination and connection to that bridge is. Is there some sort of like magical like allure between you and the bridge?
Dude, all right, so for people that don't know, I'm talking to like I know something. I grew up like up the street, and I came from a place. I used to live in a town that didn't have a lake that was down the street, and I lived 2 streets above like the lake, and I would walk down there every single day to go fish. I loved fishing. That's all I ever did. That, and I hunted, more, but like as a kid, like I fished, and there was no stopping me. There was no like asking. I would just get on my bike, roll down the hill, rods and like the holder. We had holders on our bikes and like everything, dude. Backpacks, and we had it all. Buckets. We rigged everything that you could imagine. Wagons. We did it all, and I would fish that thing religiously because even early in the summertime, like we would catch fish, and it was like the great unknown at that point. Like we caught little muskies. We were like, oh, we never done that before. Like a 3-pound bass was like a gigantic thing. We caught catfish, channel cats one time. I had no idea what they were. I'm like, I caught catfish with spots on them. Like, what is that? It was like, we saw a walleye one time. That was like literally, I will never forget when it was at the time, but a junior club record, walleye was caught at the bridge, and the guy was like, it was like a rainy day or whatever. And I remember the kid. I know the kid. His last name is Schmidt. I can't think of his first name, but anyway, the guy Charlie was, it was his uncle, and Charlie fished all the time. And I saw this walleye come out of the water. It was only like 5 3/4 pounds, but in like 2000, a 5 3/4 pound fish was like, that was a big walleye for Lake Hopatcong. That was a big walleye just anywhere in the state at that time. And I was like, wow.
They hadn't been in very long.
Yeah, they haven't been in at all. So I was like, wow, that was huge. I watched it. I was on one side of the bridge. I would catch rock bass by like the hundreds. I mean, like I cut my teeth like fishing Lake Hopatcong from that bridge. and like you couldn't take me away from it because it was like every time I hooked something. When you hook a striper and you don't know it's a striper and you just get totally owned. I mean, like any piece of equipment that you thought was decent is like it's total dog shit. It's just shit, you know. You're like, I don't know what I hooked, but let me tell you something. I'm like, that thing was like, it was going the other way, you know. And like, you know, the first time we ever seen one was throwing like spinners. We never used Phoebes, you know, not until like later on. But like we were throwing spinners and stuff for trout. Yeah, a 4-pound striper. My brother got it. Dude, that thing was like screaming. I can't believe we even got it in. You would have swore we got like a 50-incher off the beach. It was like that big of a deal, you know.
Dude, I can remember like it sucks because I didn't get to experience this stuff as a kid, but I experienced the same stuff as an adult. I don't know if you could. I can't imagine your stories. You probably can't imagine mine. Like as an adult,
well, this is what I was saying this to somebody just the other day. You know, when you're sitting there talking about like when you start doing stuff and when you're trying to like explain it to them, and then next thing you know, you snap into like this piece of reality, and you're like, dude, that was 20 years ago. We did that 20 years ago. You understand? Right. Like we found this out 20 years. I'm like that's more than my existing life. I'm like we were kids and we figured that out, you know?
And dude, try to remember in that vivid of detail anything else that happened to you 20 years ago. You can't. I guarantee you can't.
The River Gnome called Chris an old man today.
There's some things that you value more than others, clearly, but like that was just one of those things when when you try to tell somebody like what a white catfish is, right? A white cat, like the species of white cat, not like a color white, you know? And like, I'm like, what is that? I'm like, what is this thing? This thing's got a gigantic head for no reason. Like, why do we have this catfish with giant? And like, it was like 6.5 pounds. We didn't know that like at the time that was like a really huge one. No, like we just went home, flayed it up because we thought it was a channel, and that was like the end of it. You know, we just killed it. You know.
What were you doing during the like that big what is that big snake called anaconda? Remember when the anaconda was loose in Lake Hopatcong for the year?
Was that real?
No, it was a hoax by actually like.
Hear what happened?
Yeah, he knows. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. What?
All right, here it goes. So that year, right? Now you have to be like, I wouldn't call it native, but you got to be like a local to understand it, right? That year, there was like a serious boating accident. Something took place, right? And I was like, I don't know, I was probably in my teens back then, and like mid to late teens. And there was going to be the big like DUI crackdown, and like Byram Cove DUI crackdown. I mean, like there's not enough like. They can't shuttle people in quick enough, you know, sometimes, you know, if that's going to be the case. So there's like a hype, you know, like, oh my God, like, they're really going to start cracking down. But would you believe it? On like the other side of the lake, somebody saw an anaconda, right? And then some other guy came out of the woodwork and was like, dude, I saw it too, you know? And then some other guy who was like, I swim with snakes, I saw it. Well, guess what happens? All the enforcement has to go to the other side of the lake during big crackdown weekend. And guess where? Yeah, people made shirts. I mean, dude, they marketed the death out of it. And next thing you know,
it was hilarious.
Snake, and the smoke is cleared.
And the one guy was like, wasn't he? He was like a professional biologist or something, and he really said he saw it. But then he admitted he was lying.
I honestly, I don't know. All I know is that like there was like zero credibility. They just had to go through like the motions to like clear.
Yeah, I've had some really weird stuff happen on that lake. There's some weird areas and stuff, and like there is some weird things you see. I've seen like weird stuff in the sky there. Just like it's just
God, come on, Joe.
Scott Howard was with me. What?
Scott Howard was with you?
I think I called Eddie that night and said, "Do you see this?" I think I called him.
Yeah, all right, whatever. I saw the same thing. It's Eli Musk's thing. Went up there because my one buddy just like reeled up his rod. We were night fishing, and he just put the rod down. He's like, "If this is it, like I'm going down swinging." Like he just thought for sure like the aliens were about to come. Like that was it. God. Like that was it.
Eddie, I know now. There's another trip that you offer that it's like a learning experience, and it's like much cheaper.
Yeah,
If you want to
so
touch on that,
this is actually I'm actually really I'm kind of happy to announce this, and it was super successful. But I called it the fundamentals of fishing, right? And it's one of those things where, I first of all, to clear, I do a 10% discount to all Knee Deep members. If you're a Knee Deep member, 10% right off the top, like for whatever. Fundamentals of fishing.
Hold on, that
you're-
basically covers the membership fee, does it? I mean,
Correct.
Close.
Yeah. So what I do is I excuse me, hold on.
yeah, right.
I signed like fundamentals fishing geared more towards like, kids and stuff that I sign them up. If it's a junior or a kid or whatever, I sign them up on my behalf. We get them out there, and quite simply, like, it's usually geared more towards like families. Listen, no shame in the game, and if you're a grown man and you never even fished before, same principle. We learn knots. I show you how to bait a hook, teach you how to cast, and then we're going to go catch a fish. And that's like the basic principles. And like, we're going to go do that. And I'm just trying to show from like the beginning to the end, the full circle of like how to do it, and that's the basic, the basics of it. We use strictly night crawlers, and that was the thing. And I was really, really, really impressed with it this year. So that's my first or second trip. I had like 2 10-year-old kids, 12-year-old kids, something like that. And their mothers like drop them off. It's like a babysitting service. It was like, felt weird, They're like, "Is this cool?" And I was like, "Yeah, like I got them. Like, I'll see you in 3 hours. It's good." They got their life jackets on, like went. I'm like, "You guys know what you're doing." Showed them how to tie knots. They got into it or whatever. We just went out there. We got into some white perch. Next thing you know, like the rod is just like humped over, and we catch like a striper. And I was like, "Wow!" Like kid caught a striper on a night crawler. Next thing you know, catches another one, catches another one, catches another one. Before you know it, we're like 10 stripers deep, and we got them up to like 8 and change, right? And like I took the fish, we had him in the live well, and we weighed him in at the knee deep thing. Well, that individual, the little boy, the kid's name is Nate. Nate got the largest fish in knee deep club as a junior club member this year, overall. On
that's cool.
fundamentals of fishing.
And how much does that cost?
$5 to join. That's
No. How much does this thing cost? The fundamentals of fishing.
Oh, $200. It's $200 for 3 hours.
So for $200, I
here's
could
the
just
thing.
drop my 2 kids off there for 3 hours, and me and my wife can go out to dinner or something while this goes
Yeah,
on.
I mean those 2 moms that day. I was like, "Listen, there's a tiki bar like right across the way. There's another bar, and there's one beyond that." And I was like, "I'll see you guys in 3 hours," And they're
It's
like,
not a
"Yes,
bad deal,
sounds
actually.
great." It was like a
Yeah,
home run.
You don't even have to take mine fishing. Just watch over them while I go do something else.
This is
cheaper than the babysitters. I get it.
Whatever.
It probably is cheaper than most babysitters, but this is the trip that Joe went with you on. He brought his kid as like a guise so that he could learn how to fish the fundamentals.
No.
Yeah.
I went out with him
Nope.
on my
We did
own
the
to learn
panfish
how to
contest
really
together.
fish.
That's what it was.
Yeah, we did the panfish contest together with the kids, but I went out with him like us without the kids when he taught me the serious shit that he does.
Oh, okay. You had already done the fundamentals of fishing trip.
I taught
did
Joe
the
how to
fun
tie
part.
knots. It was all right.
He did. He showed me how to put the worm on, and
He might need to go with you again. I think he forgot some of the stuff, if I'm being honest.
No, I remember it. I'm pretty good with it. I only forget really important stuff. The shit that's like
Trust
useless,
me, if
I
there's
remember all.
anything that Joe has learned, he has literally stolen it, and he's now looking for brand names and where to get it from. I get it, Trust me.
Yeah. All right, Ed. We always say we're gonna get a little bit more into like the technical aspects of the fishing, and we always just end up bullshitting about all kinds of stuff and going on tangents. And before we start, ending this, I want to talk real quick about the spring pan fishing. Right? It's simple fishing on the surface. It's simple fishing, but I think what a lot of people don't understand is there's a lot of aspects of it. If you want to specifically target those bigger fish and all the different kinds of things you can try and do. And obviously, we're not going to go into like a super amount of detail here, but let me just pose it to you this way, right? Let's say, and this goes for any lake, not just Lake Hopatcong. A lot of this stuff is transferable with like little changes here and there, depending on the water clarity, water color, and the vegetation that's in any specific lake. So if I want to go spring pan fishing, why are you laughing?
I'm still just thinking about him, like hanging in this hammock in the tree. It's just stuck in my head.
You can't do I can't do anything serious with this fucking guy. Go take a piss so I can talk to Mackin by myself.
Pull yourself together.
Go ahead.
All right. So I'm going to go spring pan fishing, right? I know I can catch dozens of crappie, some perch, whatever. What's some advice you could give to someone that wants to specifically try to weed out those bigger crappie, for example? All right. Besides the obvious, maybe I'll try throwing a bigger lure, a bigger jig under a float. Maybe I'll take the float off. What have you done in the past to kind of single out those bigger fish? I mean, we've seen some of these crappie that come out of there. It's not like, yeah, you could fish the numbers game and just catch as many as you can and hope you run into a bigger one. I've done that plenty. But there's got to be some ways, some tactics that you can think of where you can kind of raise your chances to running into those bigger panfish.
So going into this, it's a little bit, it's a roundabout way, but what I found was a lot of those bigger fish are in those areas that you wouldn't catch, or you catch a lot of little ones that, like, those bigger ones clearly just aren't there. They usually are out a little bit deeper. It could be like a channel, like an actual, like, out in the middle for whatever reason, but they kind of like congregate out in like these bigger open, like the mouths. If you go into like a body of water and there's like a, it's like a creek bed that comes out, like you could cast inside the mouth of that creek and like just totally just like annihilate the little ones, like one after another. Boom, 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 boom. Right.
Right.
Bring it out the other way. Perhaps maybe use the jig without a float. Maybe if you're doing like a float, with a jig underneath and maybe 18 inches and it's working, you might only get like one quality out of like, just say 20 if you caught like an evening. What I would do is use maybe a different jig, but use it with no float. Just like let it go down a little bit deeper, work it off the bottom a little bit more. In the spring, it's very hard because they're like a schooling fish. Sometimes they might be in a little bit deeper water, just overall, like in a flat. You could just go out like in like the middle of the lake and you're just like, what's here? And you're like, I don't know. It's like 4 foot of water. It's like 4 foot of water from here to all the way to shore. It could be a couple hundred yards. And you're like, for whatever reason, they just value certain just like areas, which is it, silt, could be standing weeds, could be anything like that. And you just find like a group of them that are a little bit different. I also feel like prime time water temp, when it comes to like when the spawn comes in, those females, those big ones that you're looking at, the ones that you want to weed out, that, I mean, like it's just a matter of waiting to get that. In the summertime, I feel like in the summertime it's like a totally different game. Those lake crappies are just suspended out in like the big lake. But in the springtime, I think it's more of like a waiting game. Like you just kind of have to like, instead of just like beating the same bush to death, like get outside the box a little bit, just shake it up, different lures, different times. Different times is a big deal. Like in the dark, working a jig in the same spot that you did like those little ones, like in the dark, that might work. Throwing a crankbait in the same spot that you were catching those little ones, like in the dark, definitely a better thing. Could be a first light situation. Like very first light, great light, get out there, go pound that. You might catch bigger fish. By like 8 o'clock in the morning, could be a totally different thing where all those little ones are gone. All the little ones are in there and the big ones are gone.
I got another email question I forgot to ask him. Eddie, if you could add one species to that lake, what species would it be?
Is this assuming that there'd be no
No, this is
negative drawbacks?
This is just a personal question. If Eddie Mackin could have one fish species added to Lake Hopatcong, which would he choose?
So it's basically, what's your favorite fish species that isn't in Lake Hopatcong?
I know, dude. I'm telling you, I've been like cheesing on this pretty hard with pike. I love pike fishing.
Really?
I love doing that. Yeah, I caught a few in my day, and I wish that, because I just feel like the pike are so much more aggressive than like the muskies. You know, muskies get like huge.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but like I wouldn't mind catching like a 41-inch, like, you know, pike. You know, that would be like awesome. You know.
I think that was their concept when they pretty much made the tiger muskie, was that they were going to get this muskie that was as aggressive as a pike, but I guess it didn't really work. But it kind of did, but it didn't.
To me, they're like whales, right? Like, you just like every once in a while there's like this giant thing like in the lake, and you're like, what is that? And you're like, well, if that's not a giant carp or koi, that was like a huge muskie that just went across the top of the water, right? And that's like, you're looking at a fish that's over, you know, could potentially 4 foot long, you know, or greater, you know.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. No, and the pike obviously don't get as big typically, but I gotta say I've caught a fair amount of muskies and I caught a lot of pike. The pike, I mean, it's hard to say because they're in, you know, I catch most of my pike in the river system, and then I catch most of my muskie in lake systems, but the river system doesn't have a lot of current, so I don't know how much of a difference it makes, but the pike fight harder pound per pound.
No, the ones I caught, I mean, I caught them in small bodies of water. I caught them in the rivers and stuff like that. You know, I caught them up to like 33, 34 inches, something like that. I mean, like, that thing absolutely just destroyed. I was just throwing a bomber along and like a lake that has, like, you know, that was maybe in 6 foot of water. That thing crushed it, absolutely demolished it, and I was like blown away. The acrobats, everything like that. That was my first good quality pike in New Jersey, and I was really like taken back, and I was like this thing right here. I mean, you're looking at a 5 pound, 6 pound fish. I was like, this is by far like the coolest thing that I've done in a long time. You know, that wasn't too many years ago. That was local too. It was cool.
All right, so but before we do say goodbye to Eddie, let's get Eddie. You want to plug all your stuff, your socials,
just, you know, doing the promo. That's like a big thing right now. Just trying to push that and want to get everybody out fishing, man. I mean, it's
I'm saying plug your what if somebody wants to book a trip, where do they go? What's the number? What's your Facebook?
Yeah. No, so no, I'm on Instagram. I got Instagram. I got Facebook. My phone number is 973-697-3807. www.rippinlipsfishingtrips.com. That's all what you need to know. I mean, I got it. You know, text me, call me, whatever you want. We can set something up. I mean, like, you know, if it's for the kids, got the access. Bought a new pontoon boat for the business this year. That was pretty hype. That was
really?
Deal. Yeah. Well, it's not like new. It's new to me, but it's an older style boat.
Yeah, but now you could take out bigger groups, no?
Yep, I got had the ability to do it now the last time, but now it's mine. I got
That's awesome. How big is your pontoon boat?
What's that? I can go up to 8.
That's awesome.
You know?
So you could have literally an 8-kid floating classroom of fishing.
What about people looking to just go out for?
That's something I'm looking to get into. That's my thing, man.
Can 6 people just go out for a pontoon boat for 4 hours with you and go swimming and shit? I've
done that in the past too. You want to go out, go go swim with the kids, go have a few cocktails, and we catch prime time the last 2 hours. Then let's go do that. You know, done that before. It's your time, it's your money. You do whatever. You know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, that was a new thing this year. That was kind of thrown on my lap. I wasn't really prepared for it, but as business goes, you gotta roll with it. You know, that's it.
Hey, I want to thank you so much for coming on here. What, Chris? You saying something?
No, I was just gonna say you gotta do what you gotta do.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for coming on here. As I said, you were our first guest, and it's almost been 1 year, and here you are again. Now you actually have your own business.
Deja vu, you know.
It is deja vu.
And I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Thank you very much for what you guys are doing. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank
Really
you.
are. I would have, honest to God, if you asked me like a year ago that my ugly mug, like 47 episodes ago, this is going to take us to here, I would have never thought, you know?
When you came on the first episode, did you think you were going to come back on this show that we were doing right after Ted Nugent was on?
Dude, I honestly, my father had like a stroke. I was like, the guys that like I'm like rolling with, you know, these guys in this thing. And he's like, Ed, great white buffalo. I shaped my life around great white buffalo. I mean it. And like, you have to understand, he's like right through that entire thing. I'm like, all right, dude, take it easy, okay? The rest of us, like, we like stranglehold, we do our thing. I'm like, take it down. He's like, he shot his guitar on stage, Ed. He shot it, you know? He's like, freaking out, you know? I'm like, I'm telling you, dude, if I was on there, I had my dad with me, my dad would have been like glued. He would have been like this close to it, you know? It would have been nuts. It would have been nuts.
Your dad's welcome on here anytime too.
Oh, dude, when we do the legend thing, listen, my dad's like the old salty dog. He really is. You see like a big heavy set guy sitting on a bucket. 99.9% chance that's him. Okay, like that's if you're fishing Lake Hopatcong.
Oh, I know.
110% sure that's it.
OGNJFishing.com, dude.
Oh yeah, listen. If when it comes to legends, this guy can catch a shark in a mud puddle. I tell people that all the time. If you think if it looks like I know what I'm doing, I can't fish next to him because it looks like I know nothing, you know? I'm like, I'm going to fish for pickerel instead, you know? Like, that's what I'll do, you know?
And that's
like,
insane.
Let's get Mackin's father on here. That'd be cool.
Oh, the guy, yeah, you have to come up with some good stuff, though, because I'm telling you, he's, like, nuts a little bit, you know? You got to come up with a good, like, base, you know? Anything.
Yeah.
Because, he's nuts.
We just wing it.
Good luck.
Eddie, thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully, me and Chris will be up there soon, pan fishing.
I think we're gonna link it up soon. Boats in the water. I mean, that's we went yesterday. We had it good, so it was good.
Let's go, Chris.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah,
I'm ready to go. You know, we had our New Jersey ice fishing funeral quite a while ago. Now we had our upstate New York ice fishing funeral.
Destination funeral.
Yeah, how are you guys handling that, you know?
We weren't. We're not handling it at all. It was the most horrifying place I've ever seen. You know, the house was beautiful and it was fun with all the guys there, but it was such a nightmare. Oh, God. And I've had some rough ones, but this was beyond normal. It was just not.
You should have seen the hill we had to climb up to come back after a day of catching nothing but small fish. Eddie,
these perch, I'm talking like they're maximum of a 3-inch perch. That's it. You're jigging 3-inch perch. It's crazy.
Dude, the
lake trout are 9 inches. It's just ridiculous.
I had all my tip ups set for salmon. Like I set my sights on salmon. I set my tip ups for salmon like higher up in the water column, and I put them in all different kinds of formations on the thing. And like halfway through the second day, one of them finally went off. And as I got close, the thing was spinning. I thought for sure that was it. It was a 12-inch perch. It was the biggest perch of the whole weekend. A 12-inch
bigger than 3 inches. Joe had nothing but 3 inches.
I got a lake trout.
That was the only perch. That was the only perch that was over like 4 inches.
Hey, listen, you went on the trip, you took pool fish with a 12-inch perch.
Dude, it was sad. I almost shit my pants for a 12-inch perch.
All right, hopefully we're going to make a video fishing with Eddie soon. Next week's guest is Jen Wong. If you have any questions for Jen Wong, you could email them in.
Yeah, let's see.
Eddie, again, thank you, and I hope we're fishing together soon.
Hey, the Jen Wong, he's leading the board right now with that Mayhem contest, right?
We did. Yeah, we just did talk about that just before he came on, and Rob Jasonic put a pike in. So there's 2 fish up on the board. First 2 entered fish.
That's so cool. How big was the pickerel? How big was 24, right?
The pickerel, I think, was 20. I don't know.
You know what? I went to go look, and then I just I said, just go look at njfishing.com.
It's like 25 3/4 or something. I don't know. Yeah, go to njfishing.com.
That's a pretty good one. That's a damn good fish. Damn good fish. All right, guys. Well, listen, that was
I'm
cool.
sure you're gonna go. You're probably gonna go beat it right now. Have a good night, Eddie, and thank you so much.
Yeah, see you later, guys.
Take care, bud. We'll see you soon.
Yeah.
All right, so that was Eddie Mackin, the original guest from episode 1. Hopefully, Chris is able to put a few clips up from the original episode so you can laugh at it, even though you're probably already laughing at this current shit.
I'm going to let you know right now. I have no
boy.
idea how to put video clips into this, so that's all.
I'm sure Deuce can figure it out if we torture him somehow. More work for him to do. If we
What else
can't,
is there?
we just won't then. Next week's Jen Wong, the jerk bait master. Actually got to fish with Jen. I fished with Jen Wong before, but I never fished with him with a jerk bait. I got to see the way he uses a jerk bait. It's very odd. I don't know if he's going to actually talk about the way he uses it or if he's going to keep it a secret, but I have a lot of questions for Jen. Emails njmultispecies@gmail.com. As always, if you have a question for Jen, email it in. Chris, any other news that we missed?
I cannot think of anything off the top of my head, and I don't think I'm going to extend this episode any longer.
Beautiful. Okay, we will see you next week.
Take care.